Hey guys, how you doing? This is Tyler Collins with Orange County SEO. Today we're going to talk a little bit about e-commerce search engine optimization. A lot of clients come to us with e-commerce sites that need SEO help, and most of them are not really prepared in terms of the foundational SEO elements that need to be in place on the site to set them up for success with a search engine optimization campaign. So we're going to go through a lot of basic and some advanced tactics for optimizing your site for performance. So the first mission critical aspect of having a successful e-commerce site is choosing the right e-commerce platform. Most platforms don't come pre-built with SEO features in place. Most of them come with templates built by programmers that are not really thinking with search engines in mind, or they are but don't fully understand really what the search engines are looking for, or they don't have the capability to develop according to the current standards in the way that Google and the other search engines have adapted their algorithms to to expect certain things of websites. So we're going to talk about all those aspects of an e-commerce store, as well as some advanced tactics you can use and implement yourself that will give you an advantage over your competition. So the platforms that we like to use are Magento. It's a very robust, very nimble platform. It's really difficult to learn because there's a lot of moving parts, but once you do learn it, it's extremely powerful because it's nimble and it can adapt to pretty much anything you want to do. It's open source, so you can have a programmer code within it. You can build custom scripts and extensions and things like that, and it does come pre-built with a lot of features that you're going to want to use for SEO strategy. Another platform that's really good is Shopify. That comes with a lot of SEO features pre-built into templates that you can get very easily, and it's also customizable too, so you can develop in it and create what you need to. The bottom line is that all platforms are going to need some sort of customization with SEO in mind, whether it's to build around your keyword strategy, or to just lay the proper foundation and just put all the pieces together. Pretty much every e-commerce platform is going to need some configuration customization as well as some template customization. You see, because e-commerce platforms work with templates. You have the platform, which manages your products, your customers, your orders, and all that kind of stuff, and then you have the templates, which is what all that integrates with to present your store to the world. And both need customization for best SEO performance. So let's go through some of the basic, or commonly known as industry standards when it comes to site quality and optimizations of a website, specifically e-commerce stores. The first and one of the most important things is you've got to have good URLs. The URL is the page address in the address bar of your browser, so you got to have good, static, clean URLs that the search engines can read. It's good to infuse keywords into those URLs separated by hyphens. You don't want to go too long with your URL. Keep them short and concise. In fact, some of the recent Google updates have suggested, based on our data collections and analysis, have suggested that short URLs are really effective. So keep them short, but don't miss out on optimization opportunities that you have within your URLs. You want to avoid dynamically generated URLs where there's question marks and numbers and things you don't control. A lot of e-commerce platforms will automatically generate a URL based on the database entry or the product page. To know if your URL is dynamic, you can just look at it and see if there's an equal sign or a question mark. That's typically a dynamically generated URL. You want to have real clean static URLs with slashes and words and dashes, .html, / page.html, that kind of stuff. You want to customize URLs for your category pages, your product pages, and your information pages like your About Us page and things like that. Unique metadata, which is the descriptive text you put underneath the site, is really important. Unique being original to that page. You don't want to duplicate metadata across all your pages. You want to make sure that you have unique, original, well-written metadata. That would be your meta title, your meta description, and your meta keywords. Keywords are not very important. All of the things created equal, if you're going up against a competitor and you have keywords in there, they might giving an advantage, but Google and the other search engines have pretty much discounted Meta keywords as having any value. However, your meta title, which is your page title, and your meta description is very important for a number of reasons. One, it's an SEO opportunity. It's really important real estate that you can use on your site. It's an optimization opportunity to insert keywords into the title and the description of that particular page, be it the home page, the category page, or the product page, which basically informs Google of the nature of the content on that page. So you can insert keywords there. You also want to consider that that is essentially your advertisement when your page, whether it's a category page or product page, ranks in the search engine and people are deciding what link to click from the Google page. The meta title and the meta description is essentially your opportunity to convince the user to click your link. So you don't want to be, spammy or too salesy in that. You want to be descriptive, you want to be precise, you want to be concise, and you also want to optimize. So keep that in mind. So take the time to write out your meta titles and your meta descriptions for all your pages on your site. Don't be lazy. Don't get in the habit of letting the system build the metadata for you. Don't not have metadata, and definitely don't have duplicate metadata. That'll actually count against you when it comes to search engine optimization. Google and the other engines do not like to see duplicate metadata. You're essentially cloning content throughout your site, and you're not adding any descriptive information for them. So embrace what they've asked for and create unique metadata for all your pages. The main navigation on your site is really important. These are the links that allow the users to click through to different pages on your site. The main navigation is typically what you see underneath the header image or the header logo. The main categories of your pages, you have different product categories for all the different products you have on your site. That would typically be your main navigation. You might also see things like a cart button or an About Us page or a blog link in that main navigation. So things to consider are you want that main navigation to be consistent throughout your entire site. Don't have one page showing one navigation and then another page showing another navigation. You want to make sure you funnel the proper authority through to your pages by having consistent navigation on the site. Also, don't change layouts from one page to another. That's a no-no. So Google specifically is looking for cohesiveness of a website. You want to make sure that your pages are linked together correctly and universally throughout the site. You want to link to major category pages from your main navigation, and you want to also have an internal navigation structure. If you have a lot of products, like for example, or a lot of categories. Let's say you have 300 potential product categories where you're organizing the different products on your store. They might fit into specific niche categories within your site. Obviously, you can't fit 300 navigational links in your main navigation, or you could, but it's doubtful that users are actually going to use that main navigation bar to search and drill down several layers into a navigational path to select that optimal category. And by the time you get there, you might only have 5 or 8 or 12 products in it anyway. So what makes the most sense is to use a siloed sort of approach, or what we call dynamic navigation, where the navigation changes based on the category page that you click into. For example, you might click into main category page number 1, and then within that category page you would have subcategory pages in there, of which you might have color options, you might have sizing options. You can build out your additional subcategory navigation the deeper you go into the site, but have a consistent, constant main navigation. Utilize sub-navigation on your category pages once you get deeper into the site. And that also helps for usability as well, because when users are going to your site, they want to have convenience to access all the different products in your store, and you want that to be available to them so that they, conveniently shop through all the different categories that you offer. You want to make that easily available to them. Okay, so some other additional site quality standards, if you will, or considerations. One is you pretty much want to have a sitemap. You've probably heard that term before. There's two main types of sitemaps. One is an XML sitemap, which you have your system build. Most platforms will build that for you. You need to go find this setting inside your e-commerce platform and then tell it to build an XML sitemap from your system, from all your pages, which is managed by your platform, essentially a content management solution. So it already has a log of all the pages that you have in your store, including all the products. So you tell that system to build you an XML sitemap, and then you take that into Google and create a Webmaster Tools account. You upload their verification file through FTP, and then you submit the sitemap to Google and tell them to crawl that. Now, that's really important because that will send Google crawling through your site, and they will give you a report on how many links that were in that sitemap actually got crawled and actually got indexed. So that'll give you a good view into the pages that Google can access, the pages that Google decided to index, and then from there they can give you some additional feedback deeper in Webmaster Tools about the health of your site. The duplicate content, they will actually red flag you if you have duplicate content and tell you issues that you have on all the pages of your site. So it's a good way to drill down into your site content and your product pages and your categories and figure out, what pages are duplicated meta descriptions, what pages are not being indexed, and you can sort of go in and troubleshoot and figure out why maybe those pages aren't being considered. The other type of sitemap is an HTML sitemap, which is actually visible on the site, and you want to be pretty discreet the way you build that. It's the same thing. You build a universal set of links for all the pages on your site. You house those on one page, which are all those links are essentially linked from that one page, and then you can drop a link to the sitemap, the HTML sitemap page, in the footer of your site. And the benefit of doing this is it allows Google, when they crawl your site from the home page, they will crawl your home page, or any page for that matter. They will immediately find that sitemap link and have immediate access to every page on your site for ease of crawlability, if you will. It's a term we use, crawlability. So you want Google to be able to find your pages easily. You don't want to bury product pages 10 clicks into your site. That makes it rather difficult for Google to crawl all the way through, and you're not passing as much authority through your site. So sitemaps currently we do see working. There may be a day when HTML sitemaps no longer seem to be very effective, but currently for a lot of the stores that we're building, we do see a great result from that. And I'm going to give you another example of a store we built and all this criteria live, so you can review it in another video. Other things to consider, one is breadcrumbs. Breadcrumbs are the navigational path that displays typically under the main navigation of the site. So if you click into a category, then click in a product, it'll actually show you the navigational path of your click history, and your previous clicks will be linked in that breadcrumb setting. This is really good for a number of reasons. One, just from a usability standpoint, it allows your users to take a step backwards conveniently on the site rather than clicking the back button in their browser. And it also gives more internal linking structure for Google and the other engines to crawl when they are crawling your site. Now, there's an advanced tactic you can use. It's more commonly known now and becoming a standard, which is adding schema-rich snippets or microdata to your breadcrumbs. That's something that is supported, and we highly recommend it. We're seeing good results with adding schema-rich snippets to breadcrumbs. Canonical URLs. If you don't know what canonical URLs are, you need to research that and understand what that is. It's really important for e-commerce, especially for people who are novices and using e-commerce platforms that they need to trust to do the right things and have the right things built into the site. Canonical URLs are essentially a way to tag an official or best page of a set of pages when there are essentially duplicate of the same page. For example, with e-commerce, sometimes you'll have a product that will be appropriately categorized in multiple product categories. For example, I'll use a beanbag site reference. You might have a black beanbag that is an adult beanbag but is also a kid's beanbag. Essentially, you would then tell your e-commerce platform to display that beanbag in both of those categories. Now, sometimes what an e-commerce platform will do is they will build a separate URL for that product when it's in the adult category, and the kids category. So you end up with 2 duplicate pages on your site. Now, it's really important to understand if your platform is doing this, because 2 duplicate product pages on your site, you're essentially duplicating your content, and if you're adding that product to 2 categories, there's a good chance you're adding it to more than 2 categories, and you're going to end up with duplicate content, which is a step even farther in the wrong direction when you're talking about, duplicate meta descriptions and things like that. Actually having a duplicated page on your site and not tagging it with, or tagging the appropriate one with a canonical or an official URL for that particular page, you're going to end up with a liability in terms of SEO, and that page will not perform organically in search. It's not going to rank if you have duplicate pages on the site. So make sure that you're using canonical URLs correctly throughout your domain. E-commerce sites are you're creating transactions on the site, so you have to have security settings in place. Any site that receives money or requests people's credit card information, you want to have good security settings on the site. It's actually something that Google looks for. Very recently, they've announced that HTTPS sites or SSL configured sites will actually receive favoritism. They didn't use that exact word, but they did say that sites with security settings in place will be rewarded. So we've seen this be the case and a necessity for e-commerce stores for years, and it gives you a nice boost in authority and trust when you're looking to perform in organic search. So a couple other considerations are, if you're an e-commerce store, you're a business. Okay, so if you're claiming to be a business, claiming that you are safe to receive transactions, do you have an About Us page? Do you have a Terms and Conditions page? Do you have a Contact Us page with official business information? Is that information verified in the Google Maps directory? These are all things that Google looks for when assessing the quality elements of your website, so that they can determine whether or not they trust you. So have all the proper policies, all the proper terms and conditions in place. For example, if you're an e-commerce site and you're selling physical products, are you shipping those products to people, and do you have a shipping and returns policy? So you wouldn't think that the Google robot would be looking for these types of things, but they do. They have a tough task of organizing the world's information and media and presenting only the most trusted resources to their users. So they do. They look for these types of things, especially when there's transactions taking place. Okay, so let's drill down into some optimization settings for specific product pages and then category pages, and then a few extra closing out tips. Product pages are kind of the bread and butter for an e-commerce store. They present collectively as a whole the biggest SEO opportunities you have on the site. Number one being people, when they're searching for a particular product, they search with long tail keyword phrases. So they're searching, the product name, a potential modifier like a color or a size or a gender, and other modifiers that define their product searches much better. Most people go to the search engine, they type in something broad, then they modify their search, typing something with a modifier like a size, and then continue to modify their search until they find the right, essentially, product page where they can review the product that they were looking to purchase. So it's important to understand that your product pages are really, really important with an SEO strategy for e-commerce. Now, optimization opportunities will include, but will not be limited to, product names, unique high-res images using an optimized file name, unique content, and product reviews. Now, we're going to go through a couple of those real quick. Product names are really important too. Sometimes e-commerce store owners are a little lazy about building out their e-commerce stores or they just don't know that there's a tremendous opportunity to optimize and do things just a little bit differently to have massive gains. I'll give you an example. A lot of people will get a product catalog or a product list from a vendor or distributor, and that product catalog will come with all the standard product names, all the standard product descriptions, all the standard images. Well, if you take that exact product catalog and deploy it on your website, you're probably cloning what a lot of other people have done. In fact, the manufacturer themselves probably has that exact information on their site. So what value are you adding to the web by simply cloning your vendor's catalog? Not much. And Google can see whether or not that content, that name, that description, that image was found on your site first, your manufacturer's site first, or a competitor site first. In a lot of cases, you're using the same vendor as a competitor. So how do you separate yourself from the rest? How do you actually sell the same products and add value to the web and get recognition from Google and also users? Well, one thing you can do is you can optimize your product names. You can insert keywords in there. You can add some copywriting in there. You can turn them into much sexier headlines, much more persuasive text. There's a lot that you can do with the product name itself to accomplish SEO goals as well as conversion goals. So keep that in mind and make sure that when you're optimizing your site, you fully understand your keyword opportunities. Obviously, you don't want to build category pages and product pages and build out your entire site and all the content without understanding where your keyword opportunities are. So use some tools. Use the Google tool, or have an SEO professional provide you a keyword research report when building out a site, so that you understand exactly what keywords to optimize for every product that you have in your store. The images thing, that's a tricky one. A lot of times people don't know how what do I do? I was given these images. They're what I'm approved to sell. These are the images that I'm allowed to use. It's vendor criteria, whatever. Well, there's a lot of tricks you can do for that if it makes sense and your product still displays correctly by flipping the image horizontally using a Photoshop tool or some other image management tool. That'll actually bypass the duplicate image criteria. You can also add borders and watermarks and things like that. A watermark will typically not allow you to pass a duplicate content filter, but so get creative with your images. The best case scenario is you take 100% unique original images for all the products you're selling in your store, images that were never found before on the internet. That is the type of stuff that Google's looking for. And I say Google, I mean all the other search engines, but if you optimize for Google, you're going to win on all the other platforms. So focus on them; they're the toughest, and most people use Google. So images are really important. They are considered content. If you have duplicate images on your site, you will get a duplicate image or a duplicate content penalty. Your Panda score will go down. This has a lot to do with Panda, which is the site quality algorithm. It's quality control. It looks to reward sites with quality standards in place. Okay, so other product page opportunities are content. The descriptions you get from your manufacturers are probably not good for a number of reasons. One, they're going to be duplicated. We covered that. Two, it probably does not contain very powerful copywriting for your users. Are you going to trust your manufacturer, your vendor, to provide you the exact copy you want your visitor to read right before they click the add to cart button? Probably not. I know I wouldn't. I'm a copywriter, so I would want to get in there and add features and benefits and persuasive language about the product. I would have a writer customize that content so that it was very persuasive. And just take the opportunity to either curate, meaning add to and expand on the product descriptions that your manufacturer gives you, or just write completely new descriptions. If you don't have the resources to do that, hire somebody that can. It's worth it. It's an extra step. I know it's more work. You're running a business. I get it. But if it makes the difference between you ranking in the search engines and not, don't you want to? You're already investing in building a store, right? So take the time to do this correctly, and the Google machine will reward you. Okay, so more opportunities are product reviews. Customers like to review things, and customers like to read reviews from other customers. So if you add a product review module to your product pages, you are accomplishing a number of things. One, users like it. So you are adding credibility to your store, you're adding more feedback about your products, and you're also, every time somebody adds a product review to that particular product, you are freshening up the page. Google loves freshness, they love recency, they love new information, they love updated information, and they love user engagement. So the more you can allow this on your e-commerce product pages, the better they will perform. Now, I do understand that reviews aren't always the best. However, you can control a lot with your e-commerce platform. You can get in there and set your product review settings to only approve manually. So when somebody submits a review, it'll send you an email and you can approve that. You can use your discernment to decide which reviews you want to display and not. You also want to use schema-rich snippets on your product pages. This is mission critical. You have to do it. It's I would say 98% of e-commerce sites on the web are not using schema currently, and they're missing a huge opportunity. Schema is essentially detailed information intended to help users with specific search queries. And without getting too technical and too geeky on you, might be too late, but Google, they're a bunch of nerds, a bunch of geeks over there. They love structure, they love organization, they love it when you tag content with descriptive text to tell them exactly what's on your page. And they love it so much they will even reward you by displaying that exact information in the search results when somebody searches your product or your brand. I'll give you an example. You can see nowadays, when you search for flights, you can see flight information right on the Google page. You can see restaurant menus. You can see event details, dates, all that kind of stuff. So you can have a tremendous advantage over your competition if you use schema-rich snippets correctly on your product pages. You can display things like gold star reviews, the product reviews module we just talked about. You can display gold stars next to your listing when it shows up organically in search. You can display the price. You can display in stock. You can use schema for your product name, your product description, your specifications. There's a lot of opportunities for e-commerce product schema. Use it. It will give you a huge advantage of your competition, and Google will reward you, and you get to be more optimized because it tells Google exactly what's on your page and exactly what's there, so there's no question about it. Okay, so use schema as much as possible. Your category pages are also really important. You want to have a main image. If it makes sense for your store to have a main image on your site or on your category page, use a banner. Don't use a banner that's very tall and pushing all the product information and all the juicy product links and things like that too far down the page. Use a small a banner that doesn't have a lot of vertical height so that you don't push content too below the fold. That's something to consider. You want to have content above the fold, immediately viewable to users on all browsers. Okay, so but when you do use a banner on your category page, optimize the banner. Make it unique. Same criteria applies. Unique images are best. Optimize the file name of the image, the alt text of the image, and make it good. Make it persuasive. Tell people to shop. Tell people to engage. Other things about category pages is you probably want to have some sort of content block. If it makes sense to put that content block above your products, or maybe just below your banner image, or to the side, maybe wrapping around the image, something like that, that's usually good because it adds a little bit of static content that allows you to control the semantic balance of the text on your category pages. Because let's face it, category pages are, in fact, big SEO opportunities. You can hit some big keyword terms on category pages that you would not be able to hit on a product page or a home page. So take advantage of your category page opportunities. Optimize that content with Hummingbird in mind. Use question and okay, so Google releases all these updates to their algorithm, and they give them pet names like Panda and Hummingbird and Penguin and all these silly zoo animal names. So anyways, Panda's a site quality algorithm, Hummingbird's a semantic search type question and answer, answering the questions behind the user's search type algorithm. Penguin is actually a penalty algorithm that is designed to demote sites that don't have quality links pointing to them or over-optimization of anchor text. We'll go into all that on a different video. So back to category pages. Your content is really important. Use a Hummingbird style of text. Use question and answer format. Ask questions and then answer them. What questions will users naturally have by landing on this page? You can talk about the different products that are in that category, whether or not the products are quick to ship, easy to wash, fun to play with, whatever makes sense for your particular niche. Ask a question, use a headline, something like like an H2 tag, and then build out that content block with answers to those questions using a headline and paragraph answer type format. Now, it might not make sense for you to put that content immediately at the top of the page before all the products are viewed, so you could push it to the bottom of the product list. Things are sensitive on category pages for a number of reasons. One, you have to display products on that page, which means those products are going to come with an image and a product link. Now, by default, most e-commerce platforms push the products to the category page with a link that is the product name. By default, that is the setting, which means if you are optimizing your product pages correctly with keywords in the product name, like I went over with you, you may have an over-optimization situation on your category page. So what do you do? And what I mean by that is, I'll give you an example. Let's say you have 30 products displaying on a category page. They're all beanbag chairs, and while they're all different types of beanbag chairs, you have the word beanbag chair in your product name. If you display all those product names on your category page, let's say it's an adult beanbag chair category page, you are going to have 30 instances of the word beanbag chair on your category page. That's too many. You're not going to rank if you have that many. That's called keyword stuffing, and Google penalizes that kind of stuff. They devalue it. It looks like you're trying to game the search engine, so they're going to demote you and not promote you. So what do? Usually on the good e-commerce platforms, there's somewhere in the platform that allows you to customize exactly what that product link or product custom name might be. They label it differently for every platform that you're in, but it's important to research that and figure out what that product display name looks like when it is displayed on your category pages. Now, if your platform doesn't support that, you may need to have a programmer go in and build you something custom into your platform that allows you to control the product links on your category pages. Otherwise, they're never going to rank. Product images are also important. If you're using alt text on your product pages, you need to try and not use that or not be redundant with that on your category pages as well. I'll give you an example. If you stuff the word beanbag chair blue, beanbag chair red, beanbag chair green, beanbag chair black in all the alt text of your category page thumbnails, right? Because it's not the full product picture. If all those thumbnails have a very similar or very redundant keyword optimized alt text, that's a red flag too. You gotta watch out for that. So this is a combination of knowing what to optimize for and knowing how not to destroy your rankings in the process. It's very sensitive. Google makes it really fun for us SEO people. Another thing is avoid duplicate product lists. Don't create multiple categories that have the same product list that display the same. That you're going to run into a duplicate content issue there. One way you might work around that, if you need to display the same products in two different categories, is by using a content block either above or below that product list. So things to watch out for. Other recommendations would be adding social share features to your product pages. When somebody likes a product, they might want to share it to Facebook or pin it to Pinterest, tweet it to Twitter, or share it on Google+. When people do that, those are really powerful metrics for those particular pages that carry that social citation link back to. And it's something we actually do. We build into the linking strategies that we do for our SEO clients. So we can manufacture a lot of those types of signals organically, of course. Whether or not you have those social share features on your actual pages, I understand there's limitations sometimes. So there's a lot of things you can do on the site. Obviously, we just covered a ton of information about e-commerce specifically. You might also add a blog, fresh content, blogging about products, doing product reviews, getting customer feedback, things like that. There's a number of other creative things you can do. We haven't talked at all about conversion optimization. This didn't cover that at all. We have a 32-point checklist for e-commerce sites that we run through when optimizing e-commerce sites for conversion specifically. We've taken e-commerce sites from just recently, a big win was 0.47 on a conversion rate to 3.3 site-wide conversion rate by implementing this 32-point checklist. It has to do with optimizing the header, the footer, the category pages, the product information. What we know is there's certain things that increase trust and increase conversion and entice people to click and buy, and we can help you with that too. But a lot of that stuff will be covered in a different video, or you can just pick up the phone and call us, and we can help you with all of this stuff we just went over, or the conversion optimization or the SEO promotion aspects as well. So thank you for listening. Sorry to be such a geek. I hope you liked it. Optimize your store.